Hey, what's going on, everybody? Yet again, we have another Xbox Series X with a bad HDMI port. It's actually wiggling in this one, so that's the bad news. Let's get this taken apart and see what's going on here. This is what it looks like outside of the shell. I always say it looks like a little two-stroke motor. These are some of the components from the inside. Power supply, Bluetooth connector, all the screws over there, shock strap, and this is what it looks like with all that taken off of it. Let's undo this ribbon cable here. We're going to take off all these screws and also the Wi-Fi receiver that's connected right there. This is the X clamp, which puts pressure on the heatsink for the APU, and this is our bad HDMI port. Look at this thing, it's just coming right off. We haven't even done anything. That's nice. Less work. Think again. We've got a ton of ripped traces on this one, so we have a pretty large job ahead of us. There's Microsoft's beautiful APU, all nice and clean for some new thermal paste at the end of the video. And holy shit, look at that. We've got quite a few pads ripped up here, and we're going to have to rebuild those traces to achieve connection yet again. So we're just going to clean up. I took off the edges of those, and we're going to use a grinding pin to actually reveal the copper underneath the solder mask on each one of these. This is what it looks like. Just kind of easing my way. You don't want to push hard when you're doing this. You can completely sever the connection again, then you have to go lower and lower and lower every single time. There we go. And you can see the copper kind of spreading around. Just get some isopropyl alcohol. I use 99%. Every single time I get a section of a job done, I clean up whatever I can to make it easier so it doesn't compile. And look at that, looks pretty good. And we've re-tinned all of those with new leaded solder as well. You can see the flux there. We're going to get that nice and cleaned up. There we go. That way you guys can see all the points we're going to be working with here. Man, that's a lot of rip pads on this old boy. So we got our flux in hand, and we're going to add a little bit here to the points that we are going to work on with our 0.1 millimeter copper wire that's about to appear. Here it comes. Boom. There it is. So I've got a cut, and they're very easy to cut, so don't worry about if it's a little bit too long. I like to ensure I've got a little bit to work with on both sides of it. You can use pre-cut pads as well. A lot of people do that, but I find just using the wire itself works perfectly fine for me. And you can also do this by putting the HDMI port in first and doing this step last, but I tend to do it first. It honestly doesn't matter. However you're comfortable, rebuilding traces. I have a pretty good workflow with this method. So there's two of them in place, and you can kind of fork them around and bend them, and we're going to add solder mask to them to just to make sure that we don't get corrosion. Some people like to travel, some people might even play their Xbox in the bathroom, you never know. Solder mask is cured by UV light and a little bit of heat, about 300 degrees Fahrenheit on a hot air station after about a minute, and look at that, solid. So now we don't have to worry about them floating away, and we're going to do that for each and every one of these points. Look at that. We got two more. We got some more solder mask on there. Now you guys can kind of see how small this work area is. Kind of looks cool with the UV light. You can see the flux, it glows, which is really neat. And they're all done. Look at that, it's magic. Add some flux because we are going to hit this from the bottom. Get it all heated up and ready. And we're going to drop our HDMI port directly onto the motherboard. And we're going to get everything lined up perfectly, and it actually looks really good. So we are good to check it under the scope. There is all 19 pins. Everything looks great. And one thing you'll notice is there's two pins. If you guys paid attention throughout this video, there's two pins I didn't connect to anything. That is because those are ground pins, and there's already multiple ground pins that are good to go. They're just there for added protection. Honestly, I've never had a problem not reconnecting them. So 2 of those pads are ground pads, and don't worry about it. And look at that, beautiful joints in the back. Let's get our thermal paste on there, a nice little line across the APU that's going to spread out evenly. And we are ready to test it out. Let's push the power button here. Is the fan spinning? Oh my God, look at that. HDMI cable is connected over to the television, and what do we have here? We have picture, guys. If you like the video, give me a follow, leave a comment, let me know what you think.